What is up guys, Greedy Knight here with a video breaking down the fixes made to Charge Blade in versions 3.1 and 3.2. I'll be explaining the old effect, the fixes, and how it affects Charge Blade moving forward. Let's get into it. There were 5 Charge Blade specific changes as of 3.1. In general, the fixes affected mobility and making sure mechanics work correctly. The end result is better accuracy, mobility, and damage output for the weapon. The swivel angle of your AEDs and supers were increased. Your non-directional input will always aim forward, but if you tilt the stick in either direction, you will hit 60 degrees to the left or right instead of 30 like in previous versions. This allows you to reliably pop your supers without the stick input and use the stick inputs to snipe moving monsters. When morphing from Axe mode to Sword and Shield mode, it now applies the countermorph / damage boost. This fix just applies the damage boost it should have been applying when morphing from Axe mode to Sword and Shield mode. You can now use both guard points to output increased countermorph damage, making this a buff for Savage Axe and counter spam. Guarding and guard pointing with Red Shield Charge can now apply stun. This helps you rack up KOs by playing safely behind your shield. You hit for around 20 stun per guard. 5 guard points would land a KO on most monsters, so hyper aggressive monsters will KO themselves during a hunt. You get less lag after a forward roll, followed by standing still and walking forward. This fix doesn't really do much for Charge Blade since the input is so specific. It makes your Sword and Shield movement less clunky in specific scenarios, allowing you to input moves sooner, but I don't see any useful tech from this fix in particular. You can input the direction you want for morphing events consistently. This change was huge in my opinion. If you were 1 frame off from finishing your walking animation, you would just toss your wirebug out straight, regardless of your stick input. This forced you to waste wirebugs to fix your positioning caused by this bug. Now, it will register your input regardless of whether you activate morphing events from idle or during a walk. There are 3 changes made to Charge Blade as of 3.2. It follows the trend of affecting the weapon's mobility and making sure mechanics just work. Since there are plenty of changes in the previous patch, there should be no surprise that the number of fixes have been reduced. At this point, it's just a fine-tuning patch to make all mechanics consistent and functional. You can now guard point immediately after dodging in Sword and Shield mode. Before the update, you had to wait a second before being allowed to guard point. This adds to your defensive options and buffs counter spam as a playstyle. After a roll, you can input X+8 and perform a forward slash. Before 3.2, this would have resulted in the overhead slash with the same input. It was most likely caused by the A input not being registered when performing this action. This gives you a movement upgrade since rolling and your forward slash are 2 of your 5 mobility options. You now have an incentive to use these 2 moves together for positioning. The last fix is the same change made to AEDs and supers in 3.1 but applied to the super input for counter peek. The non-angled input will always aim forward, while the AEDs and super inputs have the same 60-degree angle change when pressing left or right. These changes gave us some new text to play with on top of fixing clunky problems with the weapon. The only remaining change that people would want is buffing the fall explosions in general. Charge Blade is in a solid position and doesn't exactly need any more buffs, but of course, I will take anything that Capcom gives to the best weapon in the game. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.